AJ, El Presidente, Eddie Kane University. Hill gon' heal, regardless. You, Buchanan, Bethel High School, by way of 3-Man Weave, LLC.
Michelle, producer, based overseas.
You can catch this wave from the Marlins to the Mariners. Doing things you can't believe. It's the 3-Man Weave.
You, what's going on, y'all? Let's get it. Episode 86. Y'all gotta love it. I want to appreciate everybody on the YouTube viewership and the Facebook group, 3-Man Weave group. I want to thank everybody as well. Y'all know who it is. Y'all know it's your boy Hill. And Hill gonna Hill regardless, baby. Who I got with me, though?
You got your favorite guy as always. You got Cannon here representing.
And you know what it is. You got AJ El Presidente, baby.
Presidente. So y'all can catch us on all major podcast platforms, 3-Man Weave. You can Instagram, Twitter, 3-Man Weave _. You can email us at podcast.3.man.weave@gmail.com. We have a special guest tonight. My former teammate. I like to say that, former Buffalo Bill draftee, former JMU Duke, former Steeler, my guy, Arthur Moats, and I want to bring him in right now and bring him to the people. Just while y'all here.
D Hill, what up, baby?
What's going on, Raw? Appreciate you. I appreciate you, man.
No doubt, and I'm glad you let these people know that you used to ball too, man. I don't know what he tells y'all, but D Hill was the man in high school. He always stayed with a 5 jersey on, had some feet, you know what I mean? Like that was him all the time.
Okay. I try to stay humble. I'm glad you let the people know. If there's any doubt,
I'm gonna make sure they know.
If there's any doubt.
Hey, because look, I got some questions. Because he got the little man complex. I don't know if he had that in high school, but he bring all the energy. So I know he brought the energy, but I want to know, was he like that? Fight you, but would he hit you? All right.
See, I'm glad because I didn't want to say that.
Oh, see, you got lucky. We already have some technical difficulties. We got Moats with the real grin on right now.
Yeah,
yeah. But that's what's up, Hill. Though I will go out on a limb and say Hill really does not. He never really bragged. He said he played high school football. He never said he was an all-star, but he never said he was trash. But that's what's up for Arthur to come out here and say that you was the man like that. I respect it.
And us personally knowing Hill, I know like we say, a lot of stuff in sports is all about that want to. And as long as you want to, you can make a little bit of noise. I mean, you may not, be all state, but you're gonna be all something.
Yeah. And Hill definitely has the want to. I will say that. That's one thing he always had. Have you ever played anything with Hill? Hill from 0 to 1,000. He don't have nothing in between.
Easily. We lost Moats, so we about to bring him back in right now. I think we got him back.
There we go. Hey, you gotta love the analogy, right?
Jeez. You gotta love it. Gotta love it.
I'm saying here like I've never had an issue with it before. Now it's going to be crazy today.
But don't worry. Look, hey, we gonna rock through all these technical difficulties. We're here to have some fun, man. But what was y'all nickname for Hill in the locker room back in the day?
Well, see, the thing was, man, look, we called him D Hill, but he had his whole little clique, the sticker ball. Remember that?
Yeah.
So he man, you would have thought they was the Bloods and Crips of P-Town, like the way they roll around this thing, man. All on had old schools, all on had the rims on it, and all on had crazy systems in that joint. You like, bro, I don't know what y'all do to get this, but hey, man, I'm over here mad as heck. Like, man, I'm over here working at Wendy's. I can't even get none of this stuff.
Hey.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Kenny.
So real quick, Arthur, I had a question. Since y'all played together in high school, I want to know, like, was it consensus did everybody know like Moats is the one on this team?
Oh man, I personally didn't know. I personally don't felt like that. For me, I mean, D Hill to tell you, man, we played with a dude, Deshaun Edwards. So like Deshaun was the man, you know what I mean? Like first 1,000-yard rusher forever. I mean, he had like that toughness. Obviously, he's from the Bob, so like he had everything kind of like that to go with that mystique. So for me, I never viewed myself as the best dude when I'm playing with him, and I'm like, man, this dude's in the paper. Like, I don't know who he is. But I will say my senior year, man, I did have, the success I had started getting more notoriety. And I felt like that was the first time for me in high school where I really felt like, all right, my sports really, got that recognition and stuff like that. I mean, I think about the all-time water, they used to do it in the Virginia Pilot, have the all-time water top 25 or like that coming into that following year. And I remember being number 25 on that list, and some of the names up there, you're like, man, when you hearing Percy Harvest and Cam Chancellor, Chris Bells at the time, man, won't nobody worry about me.
I feel you. But when did it kind of hit you like, hey man, I got a chance to play on Sundays?
Man, that wouldn't have been probably till my junior year of college.
Okay.
So I mean, it was always a goal of mine to play in the NFL. That was always my motivation, right? Since I was a little kid, I remember, just seeing the Cowboys start, me like, man, I want to, whatever that is, that's what I'm trying to play. Like, that's what I want to be. So for there, that was always where the dream started. But in terms of me really believing it, I had just finished up my junior year. I was actually third team all conference in the CAA. And I felt like I was better than that, but I still didn't get the type of notoriety that I wanted. And everybody has pro days, but they don't talk about what you have as a junior day. So for anybody that's not draft eligible, you can still work out for your scouts. And we're doing ours. I think it's February time frame in Harrisonburg, Virginia, JMU. So it's like a light snow going on. It's cold, and the scouts are
locking up.
You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, since we're a smaller school, it's not like I can tell the scouts, hey, look, the weather ain't nice today. Come out here next time, I'll run for you. So I go out there and I handle my business in the snow, and I ended up running. I think at the time it was like a 4.53, and the dudes were like, "Dang, like you ran that and you weighed this, and it was in the snow. Like this is nuts." And from there, like just seeing how their faces lit up and seeing how just more I was talked about, how many more NFL teams wanted to talk to me that summer, and then from there getting agents reaching out to me, I was like, man, okay. Like it really started to click. I'm like, to get to the NFL, it has to start like this. You have to have multiple teams interested in you. You have to have agents wanting to represent you. And that kind of would let me know that, all right, if I keep doing this like how I'm going, man, this could really work out.
So
we got a question.
We got a question from Marcus Cannon right now. He wants to know what coach had the most impact on your development and also something that stuck in your head for years and years.
All right. Let's see, doing my development. So we got pro right. All right. We're going pro right. I want to be a D Hills High School coaches, right? And a little gold 3.
You remember these boys? These players to come to the huddle. Okay.
All right. Let me get pro right.
We got pro right. Oh no. Miami Screen right. Now you know you got to switch your Trey. You know you got to switch your Trey.
Trey can't pull. He ain't the puller. I got to pull. I got to be the pull.
And that was one of the funniest things, bro. Like Mo had to know his play, his assignment, and Trey play. He had to tell Trey who to block every play. And now look, Trey would do the job. He just ain't know who to. He didn't know what to do. It was after every play, Mose had to tell him, "Hey, listen, this is who you block." He's like, all right, cool. There we go. But it's a specific play. Pro right, Miami screen right. They had to switch every time because Trey couldn't get out there to block for you on the screen.
But for me, man, when I think of doing my development years, man, I actually had a couple guys that really impacted me. Number one was shout out to Dell. So honestly, man, my high school coach for football, Coach Winkler, and it wasn't necessarily about the X's and O's, but it was more so about helping me to get that exposure in terms of the summer passing leagues. Like at the time, man, my parents, we weren't going to be able to just pick up and drive where we needed to go. But he was always going to be there to make sure, okay, we'll get you there. Going up to Penn State for some of their football camps. My folks weren't driving to Pennsylvania, man. It just wasn't happening. Right. But we'd hop in this, Ford F-150 and drive on up the joint, man. It was things like that that really had an impact on me. And then also, man, my wrestling coach, bro, Coach Gwaltney, he was all about like that, just grittiness, toughness. But he was also mentally getting me prepared for some of the adversity that you would face just when you go to the next level, whether it's high school or the NFL. Every time we, excel or get to a new level, you go through a growing phase. You go through that phase of, man, all right, am I good enough for this? Can I do this? You start to doubt yourself sometimes. And for me, I link back on some of the things that he would just tell me, man, just little things that he would say to me when I was training for states as a wrestler. Being the only guy that had made it at the time, man, we spent a lot of hours just in the gym, me and him one-on-one, and you just constantly hear how he's telling you, pushing you. Man, I don't care if you're tired right now. Think about what the other guy's doing. Think about what he's doing. He's out working right now. And just always burning that in my head. So when the opportunities came at the next level, I would fall back on that because that was my foundation.
Right. So I actually got a question for that. So like you said, wrestling played a big part in your football career. Now you see a lot of athletes from the time they were kids, they've literally just specialized in one sport. Yep. And how do you think that has changed the type of athletes that we have now? Because when we were growing up, we played everything year round, but now it's more so if you play football, you are in football camps year round. If you play basketball, you hooping year round. If you in baseball, you playing baseball year round. And I think now it has diminished some of like a lot of the toughness, a lot of just like the instincts that people have to just kind of just like to go out and do it. Now it's more so like it's so much by the book and so technical and so fundamental. How do you think that has changed up sports in a sense with people just kind of being, 10,000 hours to just one sport?
Yeah, I think it's hurt the game, honestly. And I think that goes for any of the major league sports. When you talk about a player, just for me, for example, I started playing football at 4, but I didn't just play football. I played every sport you could think of. And then even in high school, I was playing 5 sports. Like I wanted to make sure that I'm playing something, sometimes doubling up sports in the same season. Yeah. But I felt like it made me more versatile. Yeah. My critical thinking, my ability in various situations to lean on footwork from basketball, to lean on hand-to-hand combat from wrestling, to lean on being able to read a player's body language and instincts from soccer, to think back about, just running form when it comes to track. All of those things helped me be a better football player. But it also kept me from being burnt out. Yeah, I think if you start playing this game at 5 years old, right? Or say you're a late starter, you don't start till you're 7 or 8, and that's the only sport you play. You train for that year round.
Wear and tear.
Even as playing in the NFL for 9 years, the biggest reason why I retired was because I got burnt out from it. When you're just playing the same sport and you obsess over it every single day around the clock. Even I'm going on vacations and I'm not even thinking about what we're going to eat. I'm thinking, how can I get these 2 workouts in this film session? You can't do that at such an early age and think you're going to sustain it to make it to the NFL. I think that it just makes you so one-dimensional and you really hinder what you're truly capable of, man.
So let me ask you this. Because what we do here is we try to change the narrative. So you mentioned your wrestling coach and how he prepared you mentally and had you mentally tough and mentally sharp. Now, as an African-American male coming out of the 757 area, how were you able to, during high school, college, able to dodge all the pitfalls and traps that the 757 has for an African-American male?
Yeah, man, that's a great question, man.
You didn't join the Sticker Boys with him?
I didn't get the invite, man. I didn't get the invite. I had to look up to these guys.
We did you a favor, bro.
You know what I mean? He was like, that's my dog. You know
we used to look up to the boys, man. Like they was the ones. You like, dang, man. I wish I had a throwback like that. My joint kind of knockoff, man. Yo, this is crazy. But man, the biggest thing, man, it was a group effort. I can't even sit here and lie that like it was just me by myself. It was a group effort, and it was a ton of luck, also, man. Like, let's be real about it. anybody from that area, especially as an African American male, you get into some situations, and a lot of times we'll sit here and we just see how, okay, if this went this way, we would be this person right here who's either locked up or dead. Absolutely. But because we got this break right here, and now we're sitting here on this call, and we're all like, man, well, it worked out. But we all from the area have gone through that. So that's the luck part of it. But then for me, man, I was blessed. I had great structure around me in terms of both of my parents being together. I had my uncle who was really pivotal in terms of just keeping me active in sports, man. And yeah, that was the biggest thing, man. Those three people, and just like I said, the luckiness of the situation and just figuring out, especially as I got older down there, to stay busy. Like, don't allow myself to have a lot of free time, because what I realized during my free time was when I would find stuff to get in trouble with. So it was important that, like my junior and senior year, it was important that, all right, we're going to make sure we're playing a sport each year or each season. So I ended up playing those 5 sports, but then at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm gonna get a job too. So when I'm done with practice, I gotta force myself to do homework in this 2-hour window, and then I gotta go to work. So I would work the night shift at Wendy's from 8, 9:30 till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. But what it did, it kept me structured. It made it where my day was so regimented. I didn't have a lot of free time to just go out and do teenage stuff or go out and do 17, 18-year-old stuff. And that really protected me a lot, man.
And so, kind of speaking of these pitfalls, are you familiar with what happened to the LSU receiver Coy Moore?
No, I'm not.
So what happened was he was with an Alabama player actually, and they got pulled over by a police officer, and he made a statement and said that the police officers, they pulled guns on him, asking him where's the drugs, where's the gun. They actually made him unzip his pants and everything and say, where's the guns and the drugs. And he came out, made a statement, everything, and said, this was, and kind of just making an account of what happened, saying he had to literally say, I'm an LSU football player for them to let him go. And then Coach Ed Orgeron made a statement, and I'm just going to kind of read just some of it and to kind of get your thoughts. And is this a coach that you want to play for with everything that's going on? Ed Orgeron's statement starts off saying, I am aware of the serious statements that Coy Moore made on social media about being violated by police officers Saturday evening. While I cannot comment on the investigation, what I can say is that we must work collectively to embrace our differences. We have to listen, learn, and come together to combat social injustice and racism if we are to create a safer and more equitable society for all people. Do you think that statement after he is enough, kind of going through what we have been experiencing over the last, I'll say the last couple of months, but basically for us, our entire lifetime. Do you think saying I'm aware of the serious statements is kind of just enough backing of your player to say, this is our, when they recruit you, they say this is the family. Do you think that's enough?
I personally don't. I think that response 2 years ago is acceptable, right? Because 2 years ago, the climate for non-minorities speaking up on, social injustice issues, it wasn't as acceptable. People didn't want to hear that. Whereas now in 2020, that climate has shifted. I mean, we've seen everyone, you name it, man. We saw NBA and WNBA, 2 of the biggest basketball leagues in the world, shut down because of it. We're to that stage now where you don't have to sugarcoat. You don't have to feel concerned that, hey, if I speak up on a social injustice or something that I think isn't right, I have to worry about my job. That is over with. Those days are done. So I do feel like he should have said more, especially when you hear the allegations that the player made. And I will say this for Ed, if he has, depending on his relationship with the player, the only thing that I can think of is if he ever had any concerns about the player's character or him being honest, that's kind of their way of giving a back door, right? Or out of the situation.
Yeah.
We all know as athletes, man, when we have that relationship with our coaches, there should be a trust. There should be almost like an unbreakable bond that if I tell you something and it's me from the heart, you should ride with that 100%. It should never come into any doubt and things like that. But like I said, I don't know their personal relationship, so that could be why. But for me personally in 2020, man, you got to say it, man. If you're not speaking up for it, then we look at you as being complicit with it. And
that's a fact.
Man, you can't be that way now.
Especially how adamant he was about getting football back, how he was going to talking to government officials, how he was doing everything to get football back due to COVID. It was like, now you give me this blanket statement now, like, well, I need that same energy you had when you wanted football back during COVID. Like, I need that instead of this regular statement that he just gave.
I look at that statement as when everyone did the whole let's all post a black picture on our social media. You see the lack of action around it, and you're just like, man, are we doing still cookie cutters? Like, this is what we're doing again? I might as well check my email from the biggest company that just says, hey, we're working on being inclusive. Come on, come use this 50% off. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Gotta do more than that now.
I feel you on that, and that's kind of what got me, is because, like you said, that's nothing different than what we've heard over the years. Just to say we're aware of it. You're not condemning it. You're not saying we can't have it. And then the language that I always hate is we must come together. No, it ain't no we must come together. Y'all, we need y'all to stop shooting us. Like, we have no hand in that. We need y'all to stop shooting us. When y'all pull us over, we're afraid. But we can't do anything and say I feared for my life. We are the ones that are truly in fear. We don't have the gun, but you can shoot us and say that you were in fear for your life. And that's the thing that, like, I just don't understand how we are constantly in this fight, but we have to be a part of it when we're not, like, you know, like we're trying to get people, but now you want all of us to come together. Nah, come to us.
Right.
Yeah.
It's unreal, man. It's unreal. I mean, I'm just glad that at least it's to the point now where we're able to have these conversations.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's the first step. But man, what I tell people all the time is this is no different than a 4x1 in track, man. We've had the first leg of this thing. All right, we on the second leg, but then we got to hit this corner and get that third leg. But the race still isn't over yet, man. We still got a lot of ground to make up. But you got to stay motivated. You got to stay in it. It's frustrating in a sec. I mean, you look at all four of us right here, man. We've all had our personal stories and our situations where we know like, this is just outlandish, right? We shouldn't have even had to deal with nothing like this. But people didn't want to hear that back then. Now it's to the point where we can start talking about that, sharing it more, and ultimately, man, trying to create change that we might see, but more so for our kids, man, and their kids. Like, that's how I'm viewing this thing right now, man.
100%. 100%.
Now you. Oh, my fault. Go ahead, Ken.
I was just gonna say it's just crazy how those incidents, right? You talk about being a black male coming from a 757, and just like those encounters with the police. I can remember being in DC, being pulled over in 2001 by black police officers who, you know, purposely took my coat off in the winter, made me stand on Bladensburg Road, freezing cold, and leave my hands with no gloves on that metal car, like, and just out there shivering, and they didn't care at all. Then they put me on the ground, so it's just like all of these things, right? And then you get into an encounter with the police, and they have the audacity to say what AJ said, that they fear for their life. Like, no, I am the one that's afraid. Like, and then you can shoot me, right? And be justified because you were afraid, when in reality, you know that you're in full control of the situation. I am the one that's afraid. And it's just sad that, like you said, it took for basically YouTube and social media and the invention of the camera phone for it to just be so repetitive in our faces for us to say something. But it, like AJ said, we've been dealing with this forever. All of our parents. I've never even met your parents. I guarantee they told you have to be careful, Arthur, because you are guilty by association. And so it's like just the way that we had to grow up and the way that we still have to carry ourselves now. Even you as an ex-NFL player, when you get pulled over, it's still.
Dude, to this day, it's so ingrained in my brain, not only from my parents, but even when I got to the NFL, man, I'll never forget my rookie year in Buffalo. And I'm sitting, we having our introduction meetings, and the team head of security comes up and he's giving us this talk. And he's like, also, guys, if ever you get pulled over, which you probably will. I mean, you're young, you're African-American, y'all have nice cars. This is what you have to do. Roll down all your windows. I know you're in Buffalo. I'm like, bro, let's raise in Buffalo. He says, roll down all your windows. Make sure you put both of your hands outside the car so you can see car and park, music off, turn on. I'm like, bro, I've never seen y'all ever tell a white guy that. I've never seen, even my white teammates, they had never heard it talk like that before. And I'm like, bro, he ain't have to tell me this. I've been heard this from my you know what I mean? Like, as crazy as it sounds, that became normal to us.
Normal.
That's normal. And that's an issue, you know, and I'm just glad, like I said, in 2020, we're able to say that, hey, this isn't okay. And now that we have the ear of everyone else, now we can really continue to push that forward, man, because once you make this progress like we've made, there is no going back. No. What was acceptable a year ago or 2 years ago, that's no longer acceptable. So now we got to be active in this thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, everybody, AJ put in the link in the stream in the comments so we can see who's commenting. We got to see your face. We want to put a name to the face so we can see who's commenting on here. So let's keep it moving. Moats, you've been a part of three cult fan bases. To be quite honest, I don't think a lot of people are familiar that JMU is like a tight knit group.
Yeah. That's crazy. That JMU games be lit.
And also, like I say, being a Buffalo Bill, and like I said, of course, being the Steelers, those fan bases right then and there. Like, talk about those fan bases right there.
Yeah, man, I was very fortunate, man, to be able to play for 3 very rabid fan bases, man. Honestly, it really helped me to get to this platform that I have today from a media broadcasting standpoint. For me, man, playing at JMU was such a crazy experience because, I mean, you know, D Hill, when we were at Churchland, it wasn't the same. I mean, unless we were playing or a big, you know, rival was homecoming, like we didn't have big turnouts for football games. So I get to JMU and you're playing in front of sold out crowds, you're on ESPN2 and things like that. And you start to realize like, oh man, so this is what it feels like to really have like fans. And you just see just going out on the town, man, going to restaurants, people want to take care of your dinner. And then obviously at the NFL level, it gets even crazier. I mean, to the point where it doesn't matter where you're at, even if they don't recognize your face, as soon as you say your name, they're like, oh, I know you, I love you, I remember this and this and this. And they run down everything. You're like, man, it's humbling. Because I mean, I always think back to, man, I'm from Portsmouth, Virginia, where I was born. I was like, bro, you ain't worried about me. Like, but to hear it, man, it really humbles me because I'm like, dang, the fact that me being, you know, a professional athlete and doing things in the community has been able to change the narrative on me, African-American from the 757, where that isn't supposed to happen. But for that to be the case, man, it's a blessing. But that's why I never take it for granted. And I'm very humble about it because I know how easily it could be different. I know when people approach me and they don't know who I am, how their response to me is versus once they realize, oh, that's the NFL guy, and how everything changes from a perspective standpoint. So that's why for me, man, I'm always just humbled by it, man. I always show them love, man, between JMU Nation, Bills Mafia, and Steelers Nation, man. Like they have all welcomed me and loved me. And even when I moved on from their teams, you know, leaving JMU to the NFL, leaving Buffalo after 4 years to come to Pittsburgh, and then obviously leaving Pittsburgh and retiring, it was all love for me during my time there, and then even post-career, being able to come back to each of those spots whenever I want and still receive that same warm reception, man. It's awesome feeling.
But you know,
we got a Buffalo fan. We got a Buffalo fan. He still miss you. he told us today. He's like, "Oh man, I miss my guy."
But it's the character though, because there's a lot of guys who've played for rabid fan bases, and people don't miss those guys. And so that's an attribute to who you are as a person, and that support system that you had growing up. You know, all of those people who invested in you. You know, you could tell them thank you because you're a product, not just a football player, but as a black man standing for something in America. And I appreciate you for that, bro.
Nah, man, I appreciate you as well, man. And that's another thing that always drove me especially when I got to the NFL, because I would always think about growing up, we could look outside to our right and to our left, and you will see hundreds of examples of what not to be, right? How not to operate, whether it's as a husband, as a father, as a brother, as a friend. You see a ton of examples of the wrong thing, but you got to go out and look crazy to find the example of somebody that's doing it the right way. So I always wanted to make sure that once people had eyes on me and I got to this platform, that I would be that example, as tough as it is. And as sometimes, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, it sucked. I mean, you hear about doing this and this and that. And I'm like, I want to, but that's not my brand. Or I want to, but I can't really, that's not the look that I'm going for what I'm trying to promote. And I mean, like I said, it would suck, but when you are able to see the impact and see it come full circle, I mean, I tell people all the time now, I had the opportunity, man, when I would throw my football camps at Churchland, right? And we had a kid that used to go there, and he went there 2 years. It was a blast, all good, right? He's probably 13, 14, so I don't even remember him enough at the moment. You fast forward, 10 years, well, not even 10 years, 7 years later, I'm speaking at my at the CA where I played football at, right? It's their big like conference welcoming kickoff to the year, right? All of their all conference guys, all Americans there. A kid comes up to me, he starts talking. He's like, "Hey man, I bet you don't remember me, huh?" And I'm like, "Nah." And he got that look, you know, that look where he knows you don't really know him. You're like
Ace, nah, you don't know me, man.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, so where I know you from again? He's like, man, used to throw these free football camps. He said, man, I couldn't even pay to go to these camps, but because yours was free, I could go there. And he said, man, I would see you out there, and it made me think that I could do it. And from there, man, that made him motivated enough to go to college, to stay on the right path, even have a shot at the NFL. I mean, like, it was just such an awesome experience to see it come full circle like that, because you never, a lot of times you don't get to see the end result. You don't get a seed you might have planted. What does it become, right? But for me to have that opportunity right there, man, it really touched me, because I'm like, dang, like it made me remember that the work you're putting in isn't in vain. You being a good example is not going unnoticed. It is impacting people, even if they don't have to come out here and tell you. Just know that impact is there. So
now it's time to pick your brain. It's time to pick your football brain.
Here we go.
We've been technical. We've been getting all it. It's been good. It's been time to, it's time. Now, I need to know the importance of scheme, because you was improperly used your first couple of years, or first initially in Buffalo. But when they finally found you, they probably put you in your rightful position, and you started to blossom. Now, explain to me the importance of being used properly in a scheme.
Yeah, man, when it comes to, using people properly in a scheme, I tell people it's no different. Say you have a toolbox, right? You got that Phillips head screwdriver, you got that flathead screwdriver. Now, that flathead, anything that's flat, you're going to tear it up. It's not even a debate, right? It's going to loosen it up, tighten up, wherever you want. You put that flathead in that Phillips head, though, it ain't really working the same way. It's like you might could get the job done, but it's going to be so much more work to get it done. And you can just see that it's not properly used. When you use the word supposed to be used, that it flourishes, man. It's effortless. It looks beautiful at times. It's almost like art. But then when you get out of its element, you're like, did it still get the job done? I mean, yes, technically, but the work, it worked way too hard, and it was ugly at times. That's how I look at when you talk about using people in the right way, man, from a scheme standpoint. It comes down to that, man. You first off have to understand a player's strengths and weaknesses, because a lot of times, man, you'll get some you'll get some coaches that never really played. They might have just got this opportunity because they knew somebody. So you always have to be careful with that as well, man. And they'll think they know some things. And trust me, this isn't even, I'm not even talking high school. I'm talking at the NFL level. Like, you still with that. Like, that's real life. And when they don't understand how to properly evaluate, when they don't understand not only evaluating, but anticipating it and projecting, like, hey, I think this person can project to this, but here's why. When you don't have the here's why, that's where you have some of these issues where you see guys playing out of position. And you're like, well, I mean, he's still a good player, but he could be so much better than that when you use him right. But that's why I feel like it's always important from a coaching standpoint that you have guys that understand talent. They know how to evaluate it, because evaluating talent is the biggest part of getting players in the right scheme. I mean, you think about the Patriots, for example, right? Especially during their glory years. It wasn't as if they had all pro after all pro after all pro, but they had people that fit exactly what they wanted. Hey, you might be a 2-down guy. You're Danny Shelton. All I want you to do is control this A gap every time to the front side, every time. And that's what he specializes in. So he can do that. But what does that do? Okay, now Hightower, who's off the ball, now he's able to read and react and go. But you can't do that if you have Shelton playing on the edge somewhere, talking about, hey, set edge, don't like that man can't move like that. And if you got Hightower talking about, hey, Hightower, I want you out here in space, like that's not his game. Yep. So you got to understand that when you understand what players are capable of, their strengths and their weaknesses, then you can really put them in their schemes how they need to be, man. But if you don't have the eye for it or the understanding of it, you're always going to run into that issue, man.
So let me ask you this. My bad, AJ. Let me ask you this. Since that everything that you just said should be common knowledge for anybody who works in sports, right? So why do coaches constantly take people, and I'm gonna use two people who play around your time. I'm a Washington football team fan, so I'm gonna say
shout out to the football team.
We had Arakpo and Kerrigan both trying to play in space. Both of them, and both of those are pass rushers. So it's like, why, if I'm a defensive coach, why wouldn't I just want Kerrigan rushing the quarterback? Why do I want him checking tight ends or running backs?
Yeah, so the biggest thing, man, I've realized some coaches, they think they know it all. Some coaches, they feel like I'm so smart, my scheme is so perfect that it doesn't matter who it is. I can make this thing work. And they get bullheaded. And trust me, man, you'll be surprised. Some of these coaches are I mean, they're good coaches too, but they go through that phase of just believing that, hey, man, my scheme is flawless. It's got to work. It's going to work. And then they'll give you these different talks. These talks of, hey, man, I mean, what type of player are you? Are you a guy that looks for excuses? Are you seeking comfort? Are you a guy that's going to figure out a way to make it happen? And ultimately put the onus back on the player, even though, as I said in our previous analogy, it doesn't matter how hard you work. If you're a flathead and you working in a Philadelphia situation,
it ain't going to work.
It ain't going to work. It's not going to look good. So they'll give you all these talks, all these, man, you're all pro, man. You've done this before, man. You're versatile, man. You think you're better than that guy, right? So you could do this. And ultimately feeding you that gas, right? That fake energy. The result is still the same.
Right.
But the difference is when you get a coach that not only can evaluate talent, but is humble enough to say, you know what? I'm wrong. I'm using you wrong. Let's do this. When you get those type of coaches, that's what makes the situation special as well, man. Because then you even as a player, your trust with that coach goes up, and then ultimately your effort will go up as well. But when you have that lack of just relationship, when you have a coach that looks at this as, I'm the leader, you listen to me, don't give me any type of rebuttal, that is where you run into those situations and it just never works out, man.
So Cannon kind of asked the question, but with different players. What I want to know is when you like, what are your thoughts when you hear a team like the Arizona Cardinals and they draft Isaiah Simmons and say he's our middle linebacker, when what we've seen from him in college, what he did at the combine, and say you're a middle linebacker, and I'm saying you're going to be this versatile piece we can use in our scheme. What are your thoughts when you hear something like that?
To me, I look at them as trying to go with the safest bet, but sometimes when you go safe, you block a person from really living up to their full potential. Exactly. If I know you can be, a 10 level player, but I'm going to cap you at 6 just to make sure that you don't have anything negative go on, I'm not helping you, I'm hurting you. And with Simmons, it's like they understand that they're going to be growing pains. I mean, any rookie, you go through growing pains. It happens. Some are larger than other, but you still go through that. It was almost as if they never wanted him to experience the growing pains. But we saw, even with them trying to play him exclusively at inside linebacker, he had growing pains. So the thing is, I'm always a believer that if a guy's going to make a mistake anyways, let me put him in the best position so he can really live up to his full potential instead of me just trying to play it safe. He's going to mess up anyways. Like, it's just, one is going to be a lot more productive. And then one, in terms of risk reward, if I'm $10 at worst anyways, let me bet 100, you know what I mean? Let me get my money's worth. Like, that's the thing, man. But some coaches, they take the conservative approach, and it's just people in life. Everybody knows those people who they'd rather play it close to the chest, not really take a chance, right? They'd rather stay at that job where they hate it, but it pays the bills. Whereas you get the other guy who's like, man, I know I'm capable of starting this company and taking off with it. But right now it looks kind of crazy. I could fail, but I believe it's going to work. And if it works, I'm going to hit this home run. And you see that guy take that chance. And then they're the ones that everybody's looking to like, man, how did you do that? Just tell me more. Man, sometimes you got to take a chance. And if you're going to fail, man, at least fail going out hard, man. I don't want to have a conservative failure. Like, it's not fun. Like,
you got to swing for the fences.
Right. You know, like if I'm going to go down, let me go down in the blaze of glory. Like, man, he went out on top. Like, he took his best. Like, I don't want one of those, oh, well, you know, it wasn't that bad. It was pretty safe. It was cool. You know, nicely. Like, no, the result was still the same. I still struck out.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to some of these technical football questions because I got a whole list.
Oh yeah.
But what we gotta before we go too far, the people they want to know how did it feel first to sack Brett Favre, and also because it had to be two separate feelings because you didn't know initially when you hit him that you were gonna stop this consecutive streak. Like, what was the feeling when you were responsible? And that coined the phrase, dude, don't cross the moat. Like, that ended up being worldwide. Like, because we were saying, oh, don't cross the moat. We know, oh, don't cross the moat, don't cross the moat. But when you stop the streak, oh, for real, anybody can hit it.
It's
don't
real.
cross the moat. Explain that feeling for me.
Bro, first off, man, that was insane, man. But I just take you back to when it all started for me, man. Playing Minnesota is my rookie year. And for me, I was still going through that starstruck phase, right? As a rookie, I'm seeing the players I used to play with on Madden, the players' jerseys that I used to wear, guys that I would worship. And for me, man, I was a big Brett Favre fan because I remember seeing him beat the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. Like, I remember all that. And I was like, dang, man, I'm getting a chance to really play Brett Favre. I was mad because earlier in the year I played in Green Bay, and obviously he wasn't there. And I'm like, I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers, but at the time in 2010, Aaron Rodgers it's a different vibe. But we're in Minnesota now, and I'm like, I would get to the field probably 2 hours before kickoff. So it's literally just, you know, the skill players out there. Guys sometimes are still dressed up because it's so early. So, man, I'm just out there, and I always would take pictures of the field, the logo, show it to my folks back home. Like, man, we really live in this thing. Like, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And Brett Favre comes out.
Ooh.
I remember, man, I got my college teammate. He had just signed with the Buffalo Bills, so he was on the team. And me and him are sitting. We're probably at the 20-yard line, just sitting on the ground, just stretching. And Favre comes out, and I'm like, bro, Brett Favre. He's like, yo, it is. And I'm like, yo, look at how he runs. Look at how he throws. He's crazy.
Did he have on Wranglers?
It's like you can see the great, like on TV, you can't see the great the same way like when you were in person. So
right.
like I'm like, bro, it's great. I'm like, well, he's like, oh, and my yo, how crazy would it be if you sacked him today? And I said, man, that's nuts. And I laughed it off because I'm. And it's Brett Favre. Like, bro, I ain't worried about that. And then obviously Adrian Peterson comes. I'm like, that's a shame. I'm worried about him. Yeah, Favre right now, you know. So totally forget about it. Warm-ups is done. Game starts. First two plays go by. I come in because at the time I wasn't starting. So it's my first play in the game, third play of the game overall. And the ball snaps. I'm on the right side. I'm going through my rush. And literally everything is happening like how we said it would be on film. Everything is happening like how I envisioned it. That was the crazy part in terms of, I would say, man, okay, we watch film. We know Brett Favre likes to roll out to his right. He'll roll all the way to the numbers, but then he'll stop and drift back. He has a habit of drifting back. And if you keep rushing on the backside, you should be able to get after him and he will never see you. So that's what we just kept drilling all week, I'm laying in the hotel. That's all I'm thinking about when I close my eyes. Coming off the backside, he's not going to see me when we get this hit. So the play starts, I'm coming off the backside. All right, and I ran around. I think it was Brian McKinney at the time was the tackle. I'm running around. And Brett Favre, now he's rolled out all the way to the right. And just like how we said, he's starting to do what? He starts to creep back inside. And I'm like, oh, it's really happening. So now I'm increasing speed. And I'm like, okay, he doesn't see me. You know, and we all as players have thought about that. I'm like, he keeps drifting back. And literally, it was the perfect hit. I mean, that hit you dream of big. It was better than what I ever dreamed of. And I started hitting him and him saying, I'm telling you, sold out. Like it's old school dome, the one that collapsed, that dome. Like it was really loud in there. And I will never forget hearing him make that sound. And I just remember getting up, not even realizing what happened. We ended up getting a turnover on the play. Yep. I just remember getting up, jumping around because I'm so hyped that I made a play in the game. I'm like, yo, it's my first play. I just got this big hit. We got the ball. I'm jumping on the sideline with my man. Like, it's crazy. But then, obviously, Adrian Peterson rushed for like 200 yards in us. I'm like, God dang, I didn't want to get on my phone. I'm like, Adrian Peterson ran between him and Tavares Jackson. God bless him.
Yeah, Tavares Jackson was blood that game.
He went crazy.
They killed us. So for me, I wasn't even thinking about Favre after the game. And then following week happens. Monday Night Football. Favre's supposed to be out there versus Giants. He doesn't start. And I'm not even thinking about it because I'm not even aware of the streak to that standpoint. I'm more so focused on the next opponent. Right. And I remember my agent calling me. It was probably 9:30 at night. He calls me. He's like, bro, it's a big deal. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, man, Favre didn't start. That's 297 games consecutive officially ended, 20 years worth of it. And it's because of you. And he said, ESPN wants you live in the morning. I said, who? Because in Pittsburgh, ESPN is, I mean, they practically set up shop here. You know what I mean? You see these guys every day. So you're used to it. But when you were in Buffalo, it's beat writers. It's like the small, like, so when he's telling me ESPN wants me live, I'm like, what? This is crazy. So I remember literally getting to the facility because I always get there early to work out. I finished my workout and phone starts ringing. It's a Connecticut number. I'm like, oh, shoot, it's happening. I remember just doing this interview, watching myself do the interview on TV. I was such a kid. I'm just standing there on the phone, watching myself do this interview, just like, and just in la land about it because this is something that typically doesn't happen, man. It was one of those things that you dream of as a kid, to have a crazy play, to be on ESPN live morning story. Like, this is nuts. And it was just one of those things, man, that I'm glad it happened. Not him getting hurt, but glad to be a part of such a significant part of NFL history. When you talk about starting streaks, when you talk about just the history of the game and the Iron Man streak, to be attached to that forever, I mean, it's an awesome feeling, man.
I'll tell you one thing. I grew up as a little boy. He didn't play for my team, but I just love the grittiness and the toughness of Brett Favre. And when you said that he screamed like that kind of hurt some of the. That was really a question I wanted to ask. I wanted to be like, did he grunt when you hit him? That hurt some of the lore that I had about Brett Favre. Like, oh, he's just a man at the end of the day.
Man, I watched the hit today. I'm like, that shit hurt.
We should have queued it up and played it so everybody could have seen it.
Now you said something. Oh, my fault. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I never even thought of it like that because I'm with you. I thought, Brett Favre was Superman. Like I didn't see that man get carried off the field. He come back nothing, like torn knee, torn ankle. So like I never even thought of like, dude, you realize you the one who hit him and he didn't get back up. Like, like, it's nuts, man. It's nuts.
Now you said something doing that, like you said the importance of your film work that you put in.
Yeah.
And I remember last week on your pod that you said you hate primetime games because you like to watch the film at least 2 to 3 times before you even discuss it. So explain to me the importance of film work because me personally, I try to watch some of the all 22, but when you really don't know what you're looking for or what you're looking at, it's kind of like more cold because everybody's open to me. I'm like, okay, he should have threw it there. But if you don't understand why that he didn't throw it, it's like explain the importance of film work to me.
Yeah, man. For me, and funny thing is, I never even watched film to that level until I got to the NFL. So even at JMU, because I was a D lineman, my film study was totally different than everyone else's. Mine was more so I'm just watching this one guy. I'm not even thinking what the rest of the call is. I'm just looking at how can I beat this tackle for a sack. I never worried about the run game. I said, I'm strong enough that, yeah, if you run the ball, let me, I'm gonna make a tackle. I'm set the edge. But that was how I studied film. And it literally took me getting embarrassed doing a pre-draft visit for me to really start to like study film. And my visit, it was with the New England Patriots. They came down to JMU. I had worked out for the guys, and the workout went great in terms of on the field stuff. And they wanted to see me in the classroom because their scheme, it's predicated on guys. And I remember the guy asking me, all right, draw cover 1. And I'm like, all right, 1 safety. Cool. Say, draw cover 2. All right, 2 safeties. Cool, I got this. All right. He said, draw cover 3. I said, oh, hold on now. Hold on. And I'm going mad. And I'm like, all right, I remember it was a bubble here. he said something about a curl flat defender. I'm like, I don't know what that is. So for me, it took me being in that meeting to really start to figure out, okay, how do I learn this? How do what can I do to educate myself even more so and start seeing bigger picture? And I get to Buffalo and they want me to play middle linebacker, a spot that I had never played in my life. But it made me have to learn it even more.
Because that's the quarterback.
Right. It's the yeah. So that really taught me how to understand the strengths and weaknesses of every call offensively and defensively. Understanding, okay, the difference between cover 1, cover 4, cover 6, and the different pieces. But not only that, the window dressing, because at the NFL level, they'll play the same coverage, but do it 10 different ways. They'll have 10 different guys get into the, it's one thing pre-snap and then post-snap. It's going to get back to that, but it's going to be so many different bodies moving. And I had to learn that. And it took years of just being around legendary football minds. When you talk about Dick LeBeau, when you talk about Mike Tomlin, you talk about Dave Wannstedt, being around Mike Pettin, who was an understudy of Rex Ryan and Buddy Ryan, just hearing the different football concepts, the different philosophies, the different things that you're trying to accomplish with each call and how you want to send people and bait people. It's like, I know we're going to run cover 4, but we're running that because we want to set up this play right here. Hearing those things is really what taught me how to understand just football on that level. And then as the middle linebacker on defense, I had to also know, okay, well, if these are our calls and these are the strengths, well, how could I beat this? So then that way, because I mean, let's be real. I wasn't the biggest, the strongest, and the fastest player. So I had to make sure that I had elite level smartness to put myself in positions that, all right, if I'm matched up in space with Percy Harvin, I need to know how the heck I'm going to defend this. You know what I mean? Like,
hell yeah.
I got a safety over here. I got a safety over the top. I got a corner to the flat. All right, I'm going to be heavy inside. And anything he does, I'm going to bite on that move. If he gets me on the outbreaking route, I got help out there. And from there, that's what helped me to start to learn offenses and see, okay, this is what they're trying to do with this run scheme right here. This is what they're trying to do with this zone scheme versus a gap scheme. This is what they're trying to do with these bunch routes. So when they, have a guy condensed in his split, just trying to burst out. And from there, that really helped me catch my understanding and really evolve. So that way I could be more like a coach on the field, because I was like, man, I don't have that first round talent where I'm just 6'4", 260, run 4.3. I wish, but
So that, like what you said, kind of brings me to my next question. Knowing that it's really nothing new under the sun when it comes to play calling in the NFL, how important is it for window dressing your offense and that pre-snap motion to kind of take that defense to make them second guess something? How important is that for offense success, and how does that change your mindset as a defensive player, especially as a middle linebacker?
Yeah, man. Well, first off, anytime you get shifts, pre-snap movements, and motions, that always affects you as a defense. And more so, I would say I love to do that when you're going to run the ball, because typically if I'm a defender, once you line up, I'm ready to tee off on you. But when you start shifting and motioning, that's going to make me take my edge off, because now I got to communicate. I got to check to, okay, we were strong left, cover 3. All right, they picked up the tight end. He shifted over here. They motioned this receiver back across the formation. It still ended up being slot. But if you come out and just slot, I'm not worried about none of that. I'm lining up. I'm about to knock your head off. But after I done had to shift the front, then shift the coverage with the motion, and now you stop the ball, man, the edge isn't there anymore. So now I'm more talented than you. Now you've leveled the playing field. And if you were already more talented than me, well, now you got an even bigger advantage. So that's why for me, I'm always a believer that when you want to run the ball, you do all of that window dressing. When it comes to some of the passing stuff, you can do some of it, but I don't think that's as necessary. But you have to have that element in the run game, especially if you don't have the personnel to just line up and blow guys off the ball. But then I will say this.
Bengals.
Yeah, exactly. Even with them, you see them play a ton of shotgun, right? A ton of gun. Yeah. They don't have a under center vibe because they can't protect and they have no semblance of a running game. So you have to be one dimensional like that and hope that your quarterback can throw 50 times and not get killed. But you look at the hit, it's not working. So for me, that's why I think it's big with the window dressing, both offensively and defensively. I know for us, personal experience, we were playing Peyton Manning the year they won the Super Bowl. And at that stage, obviously Peyton Manning wasn't the most, gifted anymore. He was on the downhill, but mentally he had seen so much. So instead of us trying to do all this fake window dressing and him undressing us and killing us with the throws and stuff like that, because he's seen every disguise, we went the opposite route. We made everything look like a zero blitz. If it looks like a zero blitz, you don't know what we're going to morph into. Now, it made it a lot tougher on us, but that was the way we did it, and we had a ton of success. Whereas some guys, man, you can't do that. Some guys, you got to say, all right, if it's a younger quarterback or he doesn't
declare.
Oh, man, we sending everything. We coming right, we going left, we rocking this way, we going to roll back that way, the corner coming in, and ultimately you're going to overwhelm them mentally. So it's different things that you have to do to attack each player. But I feel like responsible coaches and competent coaches, they understand that. But even at the NFL level, not every coach is like that. And that's the sad part. That was the part to me that was the most surprising. I always thought at the NFL level, you weren't going to find, any coach that wasn't the best of the best and had the most football sense. And there's times, man, I would sit in meetings and I'm like, I should be the coach in here. Like, this is bad. Or you'd have players after the coach talk come to you and ask you to explain it to them. And you're like, this is a problem. Like, this coach needs to step it up. But some guys, they just don't understand it.
So you see our reaction here, because you're preaching to the choir. Yeah. We've been saying numerous times, if we can see it, regular fans at home can see it. Why can't you see it? Because I asked you specifically, it's a Cowboy question, if you didn't understand. The importance of film study, because I used to call out all our plays. And I'm just a regular fan. Like I said, if I'm like, okay, I'm only watching you weekly. I'm not watching film during the week. If I'm calling your plays, what about somebody that's actually getting paid?
Film. That's watching film.
That's getting paid to do. And you said it previously. Hey, Brett Favre gonna drop back.
And
I got to do my job. So you made me feel good. Now,
I tell people all the time, like when it came to football, you had two types of people. You had the people, imagine if we're in school, you got the ones who are going to study ahead of time, right? They're going to study. They got a test coming up next week. They studying Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So by the time the test come, they don't have to cram. They showing up. They know everything inside and out. They're ready to go. Then you got the guys who they just going to show up and hope for the best. Some of them can get away with it because they're gifted, but the other ones, you see them struggle. At the NFL level, man, you get that. Some of these coaches and some of these players, they are not as invested. Some of the guys are gifted enough that they get by, but there are a good amount of guys that don't. And that's why when you look at the average career span is 2.5 years, and that's including first round draft picks and undrafted free agents, because not everybody has that work ethic. Some guys think they can just show up and they're good enough, and you might get by, for a couple of games. You might even get by for a year. But eventually, I could take a guy with less talent that has great study habits, and he's going to know enough to put himself in a position to be successful every time he plays against you if all you are is the great talent. And that's what people, and a lot of these younger guys, these younger athletes, some of them realize it, but a lot of them don't. And that's why they struggle so much. For me, a guy that I always love to talk about is TJ Watt, because when TJ came in, TJ was one of the most mentally sharp guys I ever been around. Even as a rookie, I'm like, bro, you don't find those type of study habits in a rookie typically. Usually a first round pick, with Bud, I remember, man, with Bud having to teach him like how to watch film. With TJ, it was like, bro, he was already a cheat code. He knew everything. He already knew the checks from day one. You're like, bro, this is crazy. So
didn't Bud go to Kentucky?
Yeah.
Why he don't know how to watch film? Because when you get recruited to Kentucky, it ain't like you was supposed to be that guy.
Nah, but that's not true. Kentucky, they be winning in the SEC. A lot of people don't know about them because of all those big teams, but they are tough out, and Florida struggles with them every year.
Florida struggles with them because Florida can't throw the ball. Florida ain't had no offense in the last 10 years.
Let me ask you this. This is a two-part question. One, because you brought up that zero blitz. Now, was that a Dick LeBeau idea to try to confuse Tom like that, or was that somebody else's scheme? And then just tell me about how was it like to play under Mike Tomlin and where you kind of rate him amongst current coaches?
Oh yeah, no doubt. So actually, that was a dope question too. Even with that, so this was 2015. The year where we ended up playing Denver in the playoffs. And actually, that was LeBeau's first year gone from Pittsburgh. So I had LeBeau my first year. And that second year, it was Keith Butler, who had been under LeBeau for, I think, 10 years as a coach. So it was a lot of similarities, a lot of carryover. Mike Tomlin, that was actually his design. Everybody knows Mike Tomlin as the defensive guru. Like, his mind, bro, when I tell you, Dick LeBeau is probably, one of the all-time best coaches I've ever had in my life or ever even seen. But even with Mike Tomlin, it's just different, man, in terms of his understanding of the game. Like, it was just crazy being around both of those guys. And just to hear when Coach Tomlin came up with that idea against Peyton Manning and how to confuse him, because he's saying, like, man, this is what he sees all the time. So I don't care if you show this safety walking down, he knows just by scheme alone, he has to get back over there, or by guys being in general vicinities and stuff like that. So that was where that plan came from. And for me, I remember looking at the time when we had with Ryan Shazier, we looked at him and I think who else? It was one other guy. Oh, Lawrence Timmons. That was the other guy. And we're all looking at this like, bro, I don't know if this is going to work. This is kind of crazy. Like, we're going to play the run out of zero. We're going to play everything out of this. Like, man, what if this doesn't work? If we get gashed, it's over. But then you start seeing the plan unfold and you start seeing it work, and you're like, oh, this is nuts. And it legit worked. I mean, it should have worked. We were literally a missed time fumble away from, the game being over. So that was the crazy part. But in terms of just how I rank Coach Tomlin, man, I feel like he's definitely an all-time great. I look at him as a top 5 all-time coach, man, between the success that he's had, hardware-wise, the success that he's had year in and year out. Was it 14 seasons now where he hasn't had a losing season? I mean, it's unheard of. And the fact that he's been doing it as an African-American when he didn't have the opportunities allotted to him. He didn't have, I mean, they wanted to fire him last year for going 8-8.
Hill specifically wanted to fire him. And I told him it was not going to happen because in my lifetime, I don't think I was born under Chuck Noll, but and so in my lifetime, I think only Cowher and Mike Tomlin. So I told him, I said, bro, I don't see him getting fired, bro. The Rooneys love their coaches.
Quote me right. I said if he has a tough season like they did, I said he would not be afforded the opportunity and the time like these other coaches were. I was not happy.
But he was.
He wasn't in the terms of this. He went 8-8, and that was his saving grace. Yeah. He would have, they didn't even want to renew his contract in terms of typically these coaches getting multi-year deals. They've had him on a one year deal the past 2 years. So when you talk about a coach as winning as he is, in terms of the tradition, in terms of the longevity, in terms of always being in the mix, even if they're not winning the Super Bowl, they're still in the conversation.
Absolutely.
That is unheard of. You wouldn't hear that with Pete Carroll. You wouldn't hear that with Belichick. You wouldn't hear that with Andy Reid. We've already seen that firsthand with Sean Payton. I mean,
they're going 7-9.
John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, you go down the list. Jim Harbaugh, they're going to stinking it up at Michigan. They want to bring him back.
Love you at Illinois, but we ain't gonna get
it's crazy.
Hey, Moats, I gotta ask you a question, bro. I know this happened before you got there.
Yeah,
but why Tomlin try and trip Jacoby Jones?
So funny thing, right? Our first year in Pittsburgh, Jacoby, that was the year that had just happened, and we ended up signing Jacoby also. I remember, man. We were sitting here. It was a Wednesday morning. Jacoby had just got here. We had just signed him. And we start the meeting off. Film guys, they want to be funny, so they put on the clip. So Coach T hits the joint, don't even realize it, and it started playing him on the field. We jump out the way. We like, yo, go absolutely best. And Coach T, he's just sitting here like, look, man, I'm just trying to do what I got to do to win. He said that was the most expensive. He said that was the most expensive thing I've done to get a victory in my life.
Now I respect it even more than that.
Yep.
Yeah, so he was like, man, he's like, that's the most expensive thing I've ever done, but man, I'm trying to do whatever it takes. And we just all just dying laughing. Jacoby, it's his first day, so it was a great icebreaker as well. But man, I will never forget that moment, man. Sitting here like, bro, like you really was on the field. Like, this is crazy.
Nah. I got it. So another thing.
If you don't know, Mo, AJ is a Bengals fan. He's been itching.
Okay.
He's been itching. I've been texting him on the side like, hold on, don't go yet. Just go. Don't go yet. So he's ready to pounce. So
I actually want to know how most feel about that. So go ahead. AJ.
Yeah. No. So like I'm gonna start off with just a couple questions. I'm gonna start off tame. I don't know if you ever, seen certain speeches. They say, you start off and then you're gonna escalate. So I'm gonna start off real slow. So being a Bengals fan, I don't consider the Bengals Steelers as a rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all kick our ass every time.
No, yeah.
But I truly hate Steelers fans and the Steeler fan base because, for one, it's a dirty organization. I know. I like you, and that's why I asked you the question because Steelers is a dirty ass organization. If it comes from Kimo von Ohlhoffen, Mike Tomlin, and Jacoby Jones, I don't even need to go on. I don't need to go on anymore. But
I tried to warn you.
But when like right now, the Bengals page, they calling it Steelers Week, and they posted TJ Hushmanzada. The last time we beat the Steelers, he was dusting his shoes off with a terrible towel. Do the Steelers say, "Oh, it's Bengals Week"? Because I remember Mike Tomlin making a statement saying this is a rivalry, and we're gonna approach it as such, and we're gonna be prepared. And then Marvin Lewis, punk ass, came out and said, "Oh no, this is a normal week. We're just gonna approach it like a normal week." And y'all came out and kicked our ass. So what when y'all play the Bengals, what do y'all say about the Bengals? Is it Bengals week or is it like, hey, yo, they finna fold. We gonna crush them. Let's embarrass them.
All right, so to give you context, we always from 2014, I mean, obviously the history between us and the Ravens, that was always rivalry number one.
Rivalry. Yeah, that's a rivalry.
Like we looked at that like Cowboys, Washington. We looked at that like Packers and Bears. Like so, you always do that because of the history around it. Not only currently, but just throughout the league. Like it's one of those like pillar rivalries. You think Ohio State, Michigan, like it has that type of significance. So we always knew that when it came to Cleveland or Cincinnati, or even New England and Dallas, it was going to be a drop off in terms of how we viewed it. But the reason why we started saying that we did feel it was a rivalry was because of Burfict. You remember 2014, that's when all the bad blood started back up. We were a part of that new wave of, all right, y'all heard Le'Veon. Y'all celebrate on Le'Veon's body, so we knock out Gianno. We're going to celebrate on his body. And then it was, okay, well, y'all knocked out AB. Okay, well, we're going to knock out this guy. And that's where, and then you obviously see the pregame, the fights and everything. Like, all of that happening in 2014 and 15 is what made it for us to read like, yo, this is a rivalry because every time we come out here, we want to absolutely destroy this team. Like even when we get into the city, we're walking around, we're like, man, look, we're gonna let everybody out here know we in town. Like y'all coming to the game for us. So we would make sure we would go down to the right places.
Y'all ain't go to the right places.
We would go downtown Cincinnati and let them know, like, yo, we're here. This is us. Like y'all gonna be tuned in. And I remember, my favorite game, 2015, that wild card playoff. Like, man, I remember seeing Dago and Burfict run out the end zone and hit the locker room. And we like, okay, they think it's done. And I remember seeing Jeremy Hill back there trying to rip the turbo time. We clowned him because he rip it.
Bitch ass fumble.
He couldn't rip it.
The whole time, we're saying to ourselves, man, look, we done been in these situations before. We done been in dog fights before. We done had our back against the wall and had to, just chew our own arm off to get out the situation. they haven't had to experience that. They're gonna blink. They're gonna fold. And every single time, as no matter what was going on with the game, if they were up 2 scores, 1 score, it did not matter. We always felt we were gonna find a way to end it. And literally every time, man, I can't make this up. Going out there before that Jeremy Hill fumble in the playoffs, sitting there, me, Ryan, and Vince having the conversation saying, yo, we're going to make this play. Shazier saying, bro, I'm about to make him fumble. I got us. And literally going out there and that thing happening, you like, oh, this is crazy right now.
That's crazy.
Jeremy Hill.
Like certain things, you know, you'll say it and you believe it, but you don't believe it, right?
Yeah.
That right there, you're like, bro, it was kind of freaky a little bit, but it would happen literally every time we played Cincinnati. No matter what type of success they had, no matter who was at quarterback, who was at running back, who was at receiver, it was gonna be like that. And so for us, we viewed it as it's a rivalry, but they're a little brother. So we're gonna treat them like how little brother chose to be treated. Little brother might win the division one year, he's gonna puff his chest up, but we're gonna smack him down and let him know where it's good. And really, that's how we operated with it, man.
Okay, but now you talking about smack them down, let them know what's good. Vince Williams had like that year. Vince Williams had some interesting comments to say about Vontaze.
Hey, on site, you know what it is.
But do you really believe that? Do you really think Vince Williams wanted to smoke with Tez?
Put it like this. So we all at the time were working on AZ. Like a lot of us were out there because obviously James Harrison was out there, but James not only put the Steelers boys on it, he put the Cincinnati boys on it as well. Yeah. So we all knew that everybody would be out there. So it was already a thing where, you know, we could make this thing happen. It could be a go. And the person that was the peacemaker out of all this, that really talked everybody off, because we said at first we wanted to have something happen during the season. We were like, man, we could just, it's Cincinnati. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, like 2-hour drive, 3 hours max. Like it's nothing. And you talk about the type of money these guys have. If we really want to see you, like it's not hard.
We can make it happen.
But the person, the peacemaker in this, was Joey Porter.
Wow.
Whoa, nah.
Whoa.
I promise you.
I would have never guessed. No way.
I was not expecting that.
So Joey, he had this talk with us. He said he told us 2 scenarios. He said, look, man, I'm going to tell you about his situation with Levi Brown. He was like, man, it was fun. In theory, he was like, you know, people talked about it. They got hyped up. But he was like, man, it's a crazy feeling when, you know, I ran out on him in Vegas. He's like, bro, he's with his lady. And I just happened to be deep that night. So we ran up on him with his chick and he was supposed to turn it down. He didn't. We ended up stomping him out. Then he said, man, imagine if it's flipped. Now I'm with my lady. I got to be on guard. Then he's like, it's time where he said, I'm in a nightclub with just 2 of my guys. And he come in and I'm trying to figure like, how the heck we finna get out of here? Yeah. So he was like, you never knew how far a person would go. And then he talked about how he used to be with Brandon Marshall, right? How they had their beef going on.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Situation ended and a guy got shot. He's like, bro, he said, man, you got to realize like it's all fun and games when you keep it on social. It's all fun and games when you're doing it in the context of a game. But when you cross that line and you make it that real life beef, just know it's not just affecting you. Whoever you around got to be ready at all points because it's going to be on site from here on. He said, man, I can see me by the day and I don't know what the energy is. So I got to assume we rumbling again. Yeah. And he was like, man, just know, like, if you cross that line, that's what you got to deal with. And literally, that's what kind of like talked everyone off the ledge. And he was really just like passionate about it. And you're like, dang, like if Peasy's saying this, then man, you know what, we got to, you know, so we got to fall back here.
I always liked Joey Porter, man.
We were ready because for us, we were ready to go, man, because like just every time like they would hurt one of our guys, we felt like it cost us the season. Like 2014, they hurt Le'Veon. Think about 2014, y'all hurt Le'Veon in
2005. Let's start at 2005.
I'm speaking from my time frame.
Right? Okay. I'm talking about the history of the thing. I'm talking about the history of it.
So from my time frame, y'all hurt Le'Veon 2014, last game of the year, throwing a pep rally on the body, right? And then we end up not having a running back. We have to sign Ben Tate off the street to start on a Saturday, and we get smashed. Then the following year, all right, y'all hurt L Bell again at our spot. Vontaze Burfict flexing, doing all that. Don't act like that. Come on now.
Hold on. But what I'm talking about the output, like I'm saying, I'm talking about the history. I'm talking about where it started, because when Vontaze got here, he knew what happened. He knew about he knew about when Hines Ward cracked back on Keith Rivers.
So this is my thing though. 2014 that was all
but outlawed it. And what did Hines Ward do? Hines Ward celebrated over his body.
Oh yeah, but this is my thing, right? So this is my thing.
And we little brother, that's not an accomplishment.
Oh yeah, but this is my thing. So from 2014, because that's when all of us got into it, we always said that was when the new blood started and made that we brought that thing back. Because prior to that, I mean, I think 2 years ago, Terrence Garvin might have hit the punter and broke his jaw or something like that, but it didn't have that same vibe about it. But we felt like in 2014, that's when it really started to get back to being that nasty, just, man, like it's personal here. And that's why for us, we would always say, well, man, we didn't have any issues with Cincinnati. In fact, I used to love Cincinnati because of Ocho and T.O. Yeah, I remember, man, being in Buffalo, running on the field, seeing T.O. like, dang, bro, like I used to wear the tights only because of you.
The tights only.
So for us, we would just talk about how every year it always seemed like y'all were responsible for derailing our season. You know what I mean? Like you knock out AD in the divisional round or in the wild card round, so then we don't have him for the rest of the joint. So it would always just like, man, it was something related with y'all, and y'all always was talking smack. I mean, y'all talk about offense, y'all fans talk crazy.
Hell no. Let me tell you. No. Let me talk.
At me at y'all stadium.
I've literally been on like the Cincinnati Bengals, Twitter page and stuff like that back in like 2011, saying, like Steelers week, saying let's go, and Steelers fans jumping on the page talking about Chris Henry, saying literally talking shit about Chris Henry,
That's
literally
crazy.
talking exactly, and literally
but
talking.
You know how Twitter is.
But that's what I'm saying. So like,
nobody's safe on Twitter.
But that's to me, it's like, but damn, like I would like literally like to see Steelers fans talk about how Carson got hurt and always put that picture up, or when Chris Henry passed away and how they always do that. But like I've seen like personally, like in the stadium when Ryan Shazier went down, it went quiet. It was concern. It was true concern, and to me, it was like, damn, wow, like we got compassion, but like y'all throw these injuries in our face.
That's also why y'all. That's why y'all.
Wait a minute. That whole compassion, it was not compassion until y'all realized he wasn't getting up.
No. For me,
for a fact, when he first went down, y'all guys out there talking crazy. For a fact, remember them saying, "Hey man, yeah, we got you back." Because remember, I think it was 2 years before that was when he hit Giovanni Bernard. So it was. That was 2015. That was 2015. Then it changed. But for us, we was already in that mentality like, oh, no, we trying to kill everybody in here. Like, it don't matter no more. You know what I mean?
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. And so, once again, that's one of the reasons why I don't consider this a rivalry. I just literally consider this, it's like two motherfuckers who just really want to fight. But they be in the same room, but everybody be like, yo, chill. But it's just like, if y'all leave us alone, we go get the wrecking. And that's what I've always felt that this was. It wasn't no rivalry. It's just two people that we gotta throw hands and get it over with.
Just go ahead and get it done, man.
Get out the way.
So now, Mo, you switched your pick about 4 times last week on your show.
Yeah.
Your score prediction. Yeah. I know you had to keep your under for your draft teams.
Keep the over under.
And Deke he's keeping on your toes too. So I want to know, are you really sticking? See, here's a safe place. We don't have as many listeners as you have. Are you really sticking to your score prediction this week?
Trust me, I hate that score prediction. I even said it on the podcast. I don't think that's the score. I think it's a lot closer than that, man. Like, what people don't realize is Cincinnati is way better than their record says. Their record, I mean, it looks on paper better, but if you watch them on tape,
they're close games.
Burrow, bro. If I'm Cincinnati, man, my next year, all I'm drafting is offensive linemen to protect that man. He has the receivers. When Joe Mixon
got the receivers,
bro, they cannot protect him. That's the biggest issue. Yep. Defensively, I understand you traded away Dunlap because he doesn't really fit their scheme anymore. He was more of a 4-3 guy. They're running that 3-4 out there. It's different for him. That's not his game. But when you shift your defense, you're a year or two away. I love some of the young picks they have though with Davis and with I think it's Logan Wilson, Wyoming. I love those guys. I think they're going to be very productive, but it takes a little bit of time for the younger linebackers to catch up, which is understandable. You got Josh Bynes. Dude, Josh, my guy too, man. We was out in AZ together. Obviously, he was in that Baltimore rivalry as well. But you know, he's your stopgap. He's the guy that's gonna help usher in that younger guy in terms of having a cerebral linebacker. He is that. Cincinnati, man, if the reason why I don't think they'll be able to beat the Steelers is just because of the protection. With the Steelers, they struggle with teams that can protect. The Cowboys, even though their O-line was banged up last week, they did a great job of protecting. And that's why in Pittsburgh, we were bashing the D-line because it's like, man, it's no reason why Garrett Gilbert should have had that much time.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have that much time with those receivers, you can carve up a defense. And we saw Garrett Gilbert doing that. Yeah. If Joe Burrow can be protected, he would light the league up. But the problem is, man, he's been sacked 28 times. I think he's been hit, 60-something times. He's third in the league in terms of he's third in the league in terms of just overall being hit. It's crazy right now, man. So when you talk about Joe, that's my only thing in terms of why they're being held back. They just can't protect him, man. Versus the Steelers, they specialize in being able to get pressure when they're operating at their best when they can get after the quarterback. Right. And the Bengals haven't shown. I mean, even the Titans had success getting after Joe Burrow, and the Titans, their pass rush this year has been terrible. I mean,
I won't say they had success because, I mean,
what to think about this though? I'm saying in terms of they still were able to get hits on him and pressure him. Now, Joe is Houdini back there. I mean, you look at Joe making 2-3 guys, but the fact that he has to make 2 and 3 guys miss, that's letting you know that, man, that's a ton of people getting back there. Whereas typically you might just have to sidestep a guy, right? He's literally like ducking under this guy.
And you popping up, throwing. It's amazing.
Yeah,
some of the stuff I've seen is amazing
back there. You know what I mean? Like, but to me, with the Steelers, they typically don't allow guys to have 2 and 3 opportunities. Once they get back there, they're bringing you down traditionally. And that to me is, I think, the biggest difference in this matchup because I love y'all receivers. Man, you talk about AJ Green, these niggas and Tyler Boyd.
That's a problem.
They can get it.
Plus Mixon.
They can get it, man. Yeah, they look good.
Let me tell you this, Mo. I don't think we can. I don't think we can win, but I think with Tyler Boyd working so close over the middle, I think we gonna make it really, really hard because I think
absolutely
as you watch the season progress, Joe Burrow actually got hit a lot in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
As the season progressed, he's getting hit less and less. And then when Joe Mixon went out, and then you had Gio Bernard in the backfield. I don't care what nobody say. Gio Bernard is probably one of the better pass blocking backs in the league. And it's like our offense has changed. And so I think that quick passing game, especially with Joe Burrow being so elite,
getting them out. Yeah.
In the intermediate passing game, we don't necessarily work the field deep. But in that 5 to 19 yard range, Joe Burrow is literally elite, and the numbers bear that out. Yeah. So I think if we can work that quick passing game, if y'all don't necessarily find a way to take Tyler Boyd out and then keep AJ Green out that intermediate passing game, we gonna make it tough and we gonna make y'all work for it. I think where the Steelers are gonna have success is, of course, on offense because Sean Sims and Darius Phillips are going to be out. So basically you're going against Will Jack and Mackenzie Alexander, our slot corner. So whoever y'all put on that other side, if you got him in fantasy, he's going to eat.
They've been cooking anyway, bro.
Exactly.
Regardless. So look, Moats, I ask this to everybody, and especially people who've played the game. Defensive players. 3-4 or 4-3. Let's just get to it, man.
Oh man. All right. Am I talking about playing or
if you were a coach today and you were going to pick your scheme and you hadn't picked your personnel yet, but you had your choice of personnel, what would you run?
I hate this question because I love both. But for different reasons. I love the 4-3 because of the simplicity with it, but I need dogs in it. I love the 3-4 because I can disguise so much pre-snap and confuse you that even if my guys aren't as talented, I can trick you into doing something. So, man, for me, I'll probably go 3-4, not only because of the disguise element, but also from a special team standpoint. I'm going to have more linebackers on my roster than 4-3 team. 4-3 team is going to be heavy D tackles and D end.
Yep.
Those guys aren't covering kicks and punts like I need. So I feel like that's going to be a disadvantage for that. But with my linebackers in that 3-4, I have a lot more flexibility and versatility, and me being able to have better athletes, because typically your linebackers are your better athletes compared to your D linemen. I'm going to have that flexibility to have these guys interior rushing, coming off the edge, some of the different drops and things like that. So I would probably go 3-4 for me.
Now, to piggyback off that is, with the fact that most teams are running more 3 wide receiver sets, is it really significant to run a 3-4 or 4-3? Is it really that significant?
Honestly, I mean, to be real, in today's NFL, you're in sub ball, 60-70% of the time. So you try to find guys that are versatile enough. Like, that's why Isaiah Simmons, I mean, he's a guy that you would love to have, because he can play all 3 downs. He can stop the run, but even if they spread you out with 3 wide receivers, he can still be on the field and cover. But if you don't have that could be an issue. Yeah, so in terms of if 3-4, 4-3 is as important today, I don't think at the NFL level it is. I'm sure when you talk collegiately in high school and you don't have as many athletes on the field, then that becomes a lot more prevalent, because you can't just out athlete guys. But at the NFL level, I mean, you have your pickings in terms of, just talent on top of talent, because it's all of the best players from wherever they're from playing out there together.
All right. I want to quote you on your last episode, because what you said it resonated with me so well, because I get into debate so often about, certain subjects. But this I want to quote you.
All right.
I'm never worried about yards per carry, because we pointed out before, a guy that is not even impactful could have a good yards per carry. But if you're talking about the game, you're not even thinking about that guy. Now, you said that in reference of Deke said that Joe Mixon really hasn't had
right. He only averaging like 2 or 3 yards per carry. I'm like, bro, from personal experience playing against Joe Mixon, we thought Joe, even when we had L. Bell, we thought Joe was going to be way better than L. Bell. Like, Joe, between the size, the speed, athletic ability, we would have loved him in Pittsburgh, because we felt like he fit what we wanted to do in terms of just being a physical but athletic group. We thought that, Jeremy Hill was the knockoff version of that. But then you saw Mixon, you're like, oh, this is legit. But when you talk about yards per carry, I'm like, man, you can pull up average backs and they'll be averaging 4.55 yards. I'm like, that ain't that type of running back, man. I'm not losing sleep over this guy. And then you got this other guy who, well, his yards per carry is so low, man. He got to be having a down year. And it's like, all right, you watch him, and they put 8 men in the box because they are the depth of this guy, and he's only impacting the game in 3-4 levels right now. Like, give me that guy. But for some people, if they don't understand how to watch it, they don't understand the impact, then they have to just rely on the numbers. And that's why for me, I was always a big, I have my issues with the analytics people, because in Buffalo, that was one of the things they always do. They would preach to me, man, you got to be 6'4", 260 to play that spot. And I'm like, bro, you at 6'4", 260, and I show you my productivity, and you tell me which one is the better player here. So for me, like, I always had issues with analytics and numbers guys or stat guys, because it's the difference between a spreadsheet and actually playing the game. And when you don't realize that, you're always going to be flawed in terms of how you argue and how you think this is going to work in that.
Right.
And I asked that question because I got a lot of people, Zeke is washed up and Zeke is I'm like, come on now. We're not going to do this. Not. And that's when you said that, I'm like, oh my God. Everything about that, I just loved everything about that. Well, I want to actually personally thank you for joining us. And oh man, it's been a pleasure. We got to do this again.
Love, man. Anytime I talk on and talk with my 757 guys, and then my Ursuline boy, man. Like,
y'all already know.
Next time in the comments too, man. This is awesome.
Next time we do this again, I want you to bring Deke, because in the off season, those top 5 lists, I got to talk to my guy, man.
Bro. Sometimes he'll say some stuff, and I'm just like, how? Like, what are you thinking right now, man?
That's but he is entertaining. That he is funny, and we got a comment.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, man. So just go to YouTube, type in Arthur Moats on YouTube, It pops right up. It's called the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke for the podcast. It's available on any of your podcast platforms, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, you name it, is there. So yeah, just the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke.
And a lot of our supporters support your podcast. They say, "Oh, like, I watched this show.
Major love, man. Major love. Was great. Appreciate that. And shoot, man, I'm loving what y'all doing over here too, man. Like, this is dope, especially to see, like I said, man, 3 dudes from the crib doing something positive, man, having that impact, because this. Oh, excuse me, 2 dudes. I have to. Are you PC or you just know? What do you go for? I don't really know what you guys are.
Virginia made him, man.
He's from Cincinnati.
I'm from Cincinnati, born and bred. You know what I mean? I don't care what nobody got to say. Like I said, when you said y'all would come to Cincinnati, you wasn't in the right spot. But like I said, hey, but look, like 100% respect, man. I want to thank you personally for coming on, man. We appreciate it. And like Hill said, man, we got to do this again. It was so much fun. And you know, we can't wait to talk to you again, bro.
No doubt. And I will say this about Cincinnati, man. I did have one of my funnest times ever there, man. I stumbled across what they call SantaCon, where literally, man, everybody is dressed in Santa costumes, and it's like a bar crawl. It was crazy in my life, man. I was mad, but with COVID this year, because I'm like, bro, I was really trying to pull up for SantaCon. That's been like my thing. Like, since I saw it, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna come back to Cincinnati. I'm getting that.
Fam, I was literally talking to D Hill because we play Dallas in Cincinnati, and I'm like, bro, come to Cincinnati with me. Like, I'm gonna show you a good time. Like when COVID ends, that's what we gonna do. We all gonna go back to Cincinnati. We gonna have some fun.
Got the big ice rink right. It's like right downtown. The big ice rink joint with the tree out there.
Yeah, right. Fountain Square.
Yeah, it's a dope little vibe, man. Like, I ain't even gonna lie. It's a dope. We would hate on it because obviously, like, we would hate, but I'm like, man, it's all right over here, man. I ain't tripping.
Hey,
but
man,
we definitely appreciate it. You know, you can catch us on all major podcast platforms. 3Man Weave, Instagram, Twitter, 3Man Weave _ Arthur Moats Show, the Arthur Moats Experience. You can just search Arthur Moats. It's gonna pop up. Come on, now. We're not playing around. We're not playing those games. But it's definitely, even though it's a Steelers Foundation podcast, it's not just for the Steelers, man. It's for everybody. It's definitely because, like you said, you had some interesting takes on COVID, and we ran out of time. And I wish we had more. We could have gone, but you had some interesting takes on COVID and how the NFL is handling. And Cannon would have loved that.
But you know what? We can do it again because this is we just run it back. Yeah,
that's a fact.
But I appreciate it. Episode 86, and we out, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.